Hello, Anna Percy here from Stirred Poetry. I am going to start our poetry video by reading some poems from my latest collection from the ever fabulous Flapjack Press, Jumping into a Waterfall, available now from all good bookshops and online ones too, and directly from me or from Flapjack themselves. Always support small presses. We've got some wonderful Stirred favourites coming up in this video, including but not limited to Maz Hedgehog, Shirley May, Liz Gibson, among many others who have been wonderful enough to send us a video of their work. Some of these videos are more recent, some of them are from longer ago. We hope you'll enjoy them and you'll enjoy my poetry too. Without further ado, I will read you the first poem I have to read here, which is a poem that is about a selkie. If you do not know what a selkie is a mythical creature native to the UK. So particularly a sort of Celtic, English, Scottish, Irish myth of a seal who becomes a woman, usually in the myth, when they remove their seal skin. Usually in the myth, a man will take their skin and then force them to cook and clean for them, which means that this is a sort of area of myth ripe for feminist retelling, and this is Selkie Rages. I have an affinity with the mermaids and the selkies. My blue hair was a warning. I live with more than oneself, unknowable as the sea. The only way I can be possessed is if you steal my skin, lock it away in a chest, rusted shut by briny air. If you do this, I will resent you, bite you in the nipping way you don't like. Remind you the other jaw was proficient in rending the flesh of a fish from its bones. My teeth could gnash right through you. I will no longer sing of the places beneath the waves only a seal's round eyes have seen. You'll find a note someday next to a seat for a rowboat. I will return to the depths, even if you block my path. Thank you for that one. So I will move on to the next poem that I have for you here. Just one quick mention. While I've been doing these poetry videos from home, I have taken the liberty of wearing my most ridiculous shoes because I do not have to walk to the bus stop in them. So shout out to the big pair of ridiculous Barbie shoes I'm wearing today. And moving on to the next poem. So another Stirred favourite, Kate Bush. So we once did an event inspired by Kate Bush, and this was a poem that I wrote in one of our workshops, and it's called In the Trees. I have never thrown my shoes into a lake. I have had them thrown and attempted to retrieve them in a late summer muddied lake edge. The mud was thick, smelled good and clean. I have waded into lakes barefoot and found the algae, toes alive and fondling fronds underwater, clung to me. The white feet that lurked underwater, a white too white for lakes or sun. I have swum in lakes, felt the stillness of water undisturbed by tides on my flesh, and it was calm, and the fish were pulsing things, silvery things, and the water was glassy, and my intrusion into it muddied the clarity. There were no fears present in those depths. Then I didn't think of Weil's disease, of losing things. I found something in the water. I found my breath, a coolness that on a day where the air was still and felt like it would not move easily in my lungs, that the breath I held underwater, closed-eyed, could be held until I chose to break the surface. So one other thing, I am reading from a book. Some poets do this for lots of reasons. Myself, I do write a lot of poems. I also need to drink water during my sets for a very good reason. I have bipolar disorder, which means I have brain fog and I cannot memorise and I get dry mouth. So these are reasons. And one of the reasons why we set up our Invisible Disabilities stirred slam because people get marked down for reading from their work, which we think is unfair. Never judge a poet for reading from a book you don't know their story. And with that, I will read a poem that's a fairly recent one called Unlawful Touch. I direct you to the sink. After I unlock the door, a kiss over the threshold, bending like a willow, I say, you are the only risk I am taking. I do not tell you that your touch stopped the trees in Alexandra Park being outlined in wavering light, grateful for restoration of my sanity. I do not tell you when your house flooded as you kissed my neck after a month of no one but a shopkeeper dropping change in my wary palm that I flooded too. The nights you are not here I sleep with a pillow nestled in the delicate spot at the base of my spine, a second cradled, right foot over the left, the way we dream, layered over one another, like the pages of this book. Thank you for that one. I'm imagining that you're all giving me riotous applause and whoops and hollers, and as someone who is a Tinkerbell and likes these things, I find videos rather difficult, but I am imagining that I'm getting rapturous applause. I'm wishing I tidied my sofa slightly better than this, but I will leave you on one last poem, and you have got some fabulous poetry from some wonderful people who have graced the Stirred stage for many years coming up next. And this poem is a poem that's called How to Live in an Alternate Timeline. You have no ache in your shoulder, wrist and elbow, you never snapped your arm in two. The dead you mourned walk amongst you, and you don't know how to tell them. You miss their walk, the way their face moves. Some of your books are missing. You can smell the yellowed pages. There is a stranger in your bed who acts something like love. You made half the same mistakes. Some of those had to be done. There is no scar on your thumb. You don't know whose hands these are. In the other place, this was a sign of decline. Here it is just the price you pay for having slipped sideways. And a big shout out to my editor who did this wonderful thing with the book where he made the text slip sideways, which is one of my favourite uses of text in this book. So thank you for the wonderful Paul Needs for being my delightful editor on my third book with them, and an ever wonderful, ever kind editor. So thank you all for listening to me to open up our show, and I look forward to not seeing you, but your perceived enjoyment of the next performers, who I am sure you will love. Goodbye from me.